Well, we're all aware of the differences between men and women. What's that expression? Men are from Mars and women are from Venus. How we think and how we feel differently. And oftentimes this really is the root to marital problems. Issues like finances, dealing with the kids, even the in-laws are often at the root. But the real problem is in communication. Joining the Balancing Act this morning is David S. Wild, a relationship and life coach, psychotherapist, and marriage counselor, here with a little bit of advice on how to mend your marriage or your partnership and escape the endless cycle of bickering. David, good morning to you.
Thank you.
You have an interesting path to this because you started off as a trial lawyer.
I did. I left the field. I was in it for about less than that, about 10 years, and I found it to be a challenge to my integrity. I worked as a trial lawyer.
That was tough.
It was tough, yeah. And I actually did a 360 and came back to helping people this way, which I majored in college in and was my roots.
So it really was your true passion.
Exactly.
You know, to come full circle.
Exactly.
You know, one of the things you talk about is a cycle of bickering. Why do couples argue?
The reason we argue is because we get stuck at the symptom level, at the surface of the onion. What I call peeling the onion is getting beneath the level of the symptom to what's really going on. If you don't fix what's really going on, you're going to stay stuck.
Well, how do we get unstuck? I mean, how do we get past these feelings? Because one of the things you and I talked about is sometimes we hold on to these things, not just for a couple of weeks, not just for a couple of months, but a couple of years, many years in some cases. And so how do you start to peel back those layers and get to really the root of what's going on?
Excellent question. The first thing is catch it as early as you can. When you're starting to feel resentment or disconnection, say, hey, I have to make some moves. I've got to make some movement in my relationship. I've got to get some help.
Yeah, and well, you're here to help us this morning because you have this great CD, Peeling the Onion, and I want you to show us a little bit about the techniques you use to help couples kind of peel back those layers and really get to the root of what's going on in their marriage.
Let me use this board as an illustration to give you at least a template, a little bit of what's in the CD, which goes more into it, and give you an idea what peeling the onion looks like and what we get stuck with.
So is that our onion?
This is our onion.
Okay.
Okay. On top we have what I'm going to call anger. All of the things, the feelings and behaviors that I'm writing down are on a continuum from low to high.
Okay.
Okay? Anger over here, withdrawal. I didn't leave myself enough room. But if you can see that, that's withdrawal.
Okay.
And over here, the words addictions and compulsions. These are all on the outside of the onion. In my experience of over 15 years working with individuals and couples, I find that most people get stuck because this is where they're at. They're either in some level of irritation or anger, they're in some level of withdrawal or pulling away, whether that be emotional or physical from their partner, or they're engaged in addictions, compulsions. We all know drinking heavily, gambling excessively, workaholism, the list goes on, sexual addictions, addictions to the internet. These are all basically controlled by the brain to some degree because they're all manifestations of our fight versus flight reaction.
So you
what do we
start to
do?
Peel it, though.
We have to go down to the center.
Okay.
What's in the center? 3 basic categories that I've identified. The first being any element of feeling sad. And when I say sad, I mean disconnected. From feeling blue to feeling really, really despairing, okay? Feeling lonely, perhaps. The second, fear. Again, mild anxiety, concern, apprehension, all the way to feeling terror. And these are things that are not discussed by couples. These are what they need to be going to. And the third, which is very big, are the feelings of shame and or guilt. And shame and guilt, shame refers to not feeling good enough. Okay, and in lots of relationships, these are the sorts of things that we need to be dealing with because then we'll be dealing with what's at the core.
Well, part of getting to that core, though, is kind of disengaging your ego, right? Kind of leaving your ego at the door. But if you do that, then what should you engage in?
Well, the ego is very insidious and crafty and will try to keep you stuck in battle because we always would rather be right than happy. That's what the ego's adage is. What we do is we disconnect from that and we connect to our higher self, whether it be our relationship with God or spirit or higher power, anything that we feel is larger than us that will enable us to have the wisdom and the compassion to see into the center of the onion.
You know, it's interesting because as I was looking at that and listening to you, I thought, well, this would be something that would be easy for me as a woman to do, but I would think that it'd be more difficult for a man to kind of peel back those layers and really expose those true feelings.
Danielle, you're 100% correct. It is more difficult for men, but the good news is that men can do it. I've worked with scores of men who have been able to do it. They need to be shown how. It's almost a language that has not been taught to them. Many, many men can do it. They need to be shown how, and the women in their lives can help them. It's a good thing to do even a multiple choice by asking your spouse, are you feeling some level of, and go through what's in the center.
And go through the onion,
my CD illustrates it in more detail, but this is the basic notion of getting beneath the surface.
Well, we do appreciate you helping us peel the onion, David. Thank you for being on the show this morning.
Thanks so much for having me.
All right, and once again, if you'd like to contact David Weil or obtain the CD, it's called Peeling the Onion and Mending Your Marriage, visit his website. It is davidswild.com.